We start this episode by paying tribute to the defunct Aral Sea, followed by the visit of a few Qala, 2000-year-old sandcastles, remains of the forgotten Kushan Empire. Then we head to the heart of the Silk Road, Khiva, Bukhara and Samarkand, with their beautiful mosques, mausoleums, minarets and madrasahs, testimony of the splendour and richness that Central Asia once had. After a trouble-free border crossing, we decide to go for a little detour up to the former Aral Sea shores. With the exception of the plains along the Registan river, the Uzbek countryside is pretty arid and empty. Our itinerary follows from west to east the main cities of Khiva, Bukhara, Samarkand and Madrasahs. This was the Aral Sea in the 90s. And this is how it looks today. Formerly the fourth largest lake in the world, the Aral Sea has been shrinking since the 60s after the rivers that fed it were diverted by Soviet irrigation projects. By 1997 it had declined to 10% of its original size, and all that was left on the former shores were a few shipwrecks, a surreal display of mankind's stupidity. This is our last camp with the Klein Disney family. We will be meeting them again before entering China, and Toby, an artist by profession, doesn't miss the opportunity for a quick performance in this melodramatic atmosphere. The shrinking of the Aral Sea is one of the planet's worst environmental disasters. The region's once prosperous fishing industry is long dead, replaced by unemployment, economic hardship, misery and depression. About 2000 years ago, the Kushan Empire erected more than 50 qalas, meaning fort or castle, as part of a chain of fortresses guarding the borders of the Kizilkum Desert, the sandcastle of a forgotten empire. We first visit the Kizil Qala, the Red Fortress, a modestly magnificent-looking structure plunked in the middle of the maize field and surrounded by irrigation channel as though somebody had misplaced it. The inner chambers have collapsed, apparently burying a treasure deep inside, which according to the legends is guarded by a fierce serpent. It's not very visible in this clip, but the front legs of this camel are tied together by hobbles, preventing forward movement. We set up camp at the feet of the Ayat's Qala, a cluster of 3 separate forts, each on a hill, overlooking nothing but desert. These castles were built as defense against raids by nomads and the Saka, and to protect the agricultural settlements. The outer wall measured 10 and more meters in height and up to 8 meters in width. Watchtowers and entrance gates complete the exterior structure. The interiors of the castles were once organized in chambers and corridors, although not a single structure is visible anymore, just scrubland with a small pond in the middle. We leave the countryside for good, focusing now on the famous cities along the Silk Road. Khiva is a friendly and welcoming old Silk Road town that's well set up for tourism, almost too well. The citadel offers lots of attractions, like the carefully preserved traditional Uzbek dancing, rich with emotions and accompanied with beautiful traditional clothing. Bukhara. The name alone evokes stories from the Arabian Nights, whilst also sounding like the end of the world. But there was a time when this city was in fact one of the largest trading hubs in the world. At the height of the Silk Road trade in the 9th and 10th century, Bukhara was even the most important Islamic center in the world, just one of the reasons it was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Poi Kailan complex is so impressive that even Genghis Khan spared the Kailan minaret, back then one of the tallest buildings in the world, after he conquered the city. The whole complex consists of a mosque and a madrasah and is one of the finest examples of Islamic architecture in the world. The core minor is a unique little mosque with what appears to be 4 minarets. The structure is quite small, maybe 15 meters tall, and was only completed in 1807. It certainly looks fantastic, a little jewel, even though these days there is simply a souvenir shop inside. We camped just outside a village on the hills. Like usual, we are visited by the curious local shepherds. Our journey continues towards Samarkand, and as we have to wait for our online visa application for Tajikistan, we also visit Shahrizabts, the birthplace of Timur, also visited by Marco Polo, the first European overlander. Timur was one of Uzbekistan's greatest rulers, and not surprisingly his grave is just as impressive, the Gur-e-Amir mausoleum. Much like the rest of Samarkand, this great site fell into disrepair starting in the 17th century, But interest for historical highlights ultimately led to the reconstruction of Timur's shrine as well. The Bibi Kanim Mosque was once one of the greatest mosques in the whole Islamic world. The Grand Timur, again, started the construction, but due to its daunting plan, the courtyard mosque's areal was not built to last. Only 100 years after the construction had started, the mosque lay basically in ruins. Reconstruction work started under the Soviets, and given how big the mosque is, restoration continues with no end in sight. Still, the facades, especially the majestic entrance arch with its height of 35 meters, is impressive to say the least. Samarkand is not only beautiful beyond comparison, it is also one of the oldest cities on this planet. Current evidence suggests that the land has been settled from as early as 40,000 years ago. The city itself was founded around the 7th century BC, making it even older than ancient Rome. If beauty has a name, then surely it must be Registan. It consists of 3 distinct Madrasahs, Islamic schools, around a central plaza. Each of them is in itself a prime example of Islamic architecture, only rivaled by Isfahan in Iran. In the middle of the Uzbek desert, we suddenly encounter another overlanding couple. We spontaneously set up camp together, exchange experiences and stories, the beginning of a friendship that will lead to Tajikistan and beyond, but that's a story for next time.